Oh, no. Wait, I can't hear you. Okay.
What? And we're live. What's up? Big day today. Just gonna let some people come in first. And I'm going to set up all the stuff. Very important guest today. All right. Okay, so. Oh, that was just abrupt. I am very excited because today we have a very special guest. And I am going to introduce him now, or I guess I should let him introduce himself. Recently blew the whistle on a lot of really important Scientology behind-the-scenes goings-ons, as it were. So without further ado, let's welcome Amir.
Hey, buddy. What's good?
Hey. Not much. What's good with you? I'm just I'm happy we're doing this finally.
Yeah. I mean, we had some pretty cool conversations, and it's always great speaking to you. And this is the first time that we're doing this on YouTube, but it's
Yeah.
always good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. I mean, your Substack, I've been reading your Substack. I don't always I get all the notifications and everything, but I can't always respond, but that's but you're doing a lot of really good work out there. I put it in the original description. I don't know if it's it didn't show up when this Streamlabs is weird, so it just didn't show up when I tried to schedule it. But I'll make sure that everyone knows exactly where to go to read your Substack.
No, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I just want to because I can make a lot of contextual assumptions as to like your story because I've heard a lot of it. We'll just get people a little bit more familiar about what how you came into this space, how you found out about all this, how you got wound up in this mess, because it is messy. So what led you to wait. I want to make sure everyone can hear. Wait. That was my fault. Can we hear him? Oh, nope. That's double. Let's see. Testing. I can hear him perfectly fine.
Hello.
Interesting. Oh, monitor only. Monitor and output. Okay. Say something.
Hello.
Hello, we're doing a test.
Testing.
There's a bit of a delay, so I'm gonna just put you all the way up to 100. Do a couple tests.
Okay. Test. Hello.
Okay,
Hello.
we're seeing much better. There's some people their volume is down. That's okay. I put him all the way up, and I put me slightly down. So if there's any volume discrepancy, if I'm playing a game, I underestimated how little I was actually able to hear. Okay, cool. So why don't you tell us like how, because I'm curious, like from someone, did you know anything about Scientology before you joined?
No, man, I knew absolutely nothing about
So
it. I didn't know
so
about LRH, nothing.
so what did it look like? What did it appear like from your just like, completely unaware of any of the controversies? Like what did it feel like? What did it look like?
It didn't look like anything because I didn't know anything about it. So I'd heard the name. Like quite a lot of people. It's like you've heard the name and it's like, okay, Scientology, Scientology. I've heard it somewhere. I don't know anything about it. I've heard it somewhere. I think Tom Cruise has maybe something to do with it or
Right.
something. Like no knowledge on it whatsoever. Nothing. I couldn't even speak about the subject. I did not know anything except the name.
So was it just a curiosity, or did they give you the because you ended up on staff in London, right?
Scotland and Edinburgh.
Scotland, right, right, right,
Better
right.
than London. No, I don't like. No,
I've heard some.
Alex
My
was on
sister,
staff at London, but not me.
right? My sister used to be on. Well, she was on services there, but she knew a lot of friends from London. She was friends with Bella Cruz and all them. But
I've met Bella.
yeah, she makes her rounds in the UK. I don't. I've never. We almost never saw her in the US.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so how did that process go? Like, how were you introduced to it, and how did they get you to sign the contract?
That was about a 2 year timeline. I mean, okay, so I was introduced to it. I mean, when you're 18, 19, teenage years, 20, young 20s, whatever, it's very much a year where you go out, explore, you try stuff, you meet people, you
The gap
you know,
year.
get into stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, right? It's a learning phase. It's a
Mm-hmm.
massive, especially when you go from your teenage years to adulthood, and then you have suddenly the ability to do stuff that you couldn't do as a teenager. It's your learning years very much.
Yeah.
So, there's certain things that you might have heard of. There's certain things that you get introduced to or you hear about and you end up trying it or getting into it or seeing it or whatever. So I just remember hearing the name when I finished high school. And I was doing film school as well at the same time. And I was like, okay, I'll go in and I'll check it out. So I remember there's only one in Scotland. I mean, in England,
Mm-hmm.
there's London, there's Bournemouth, there's
Right.
Birmingham, there's Manchester, there's quite a few. There's obviously their UK headquarters is in the south of England, which is in East Grinstead, right?
Right.
In Scotland, there's literally one, and it's in the capital, it's in Edinburgh. So, and I just remember I went in and yeah, I did a personality test, which you fill out these 200 multiple choice questions, you get your results. You know it very well, Ian. And then
Yeah.
I didn't buy anything from that. Then I kind of, went away for a couple months, came back from holiday. Then I tried a stress test, didn't buy anything from that either. Went away for a couple months. So I was very, very in and out for a little bit
So
before I even bought my first book.
interesting. So it sounds like there was like it was sort of like a familiarization process, like because they didn't
Yeah.
do any of the extreme stuff right away, it kind of made it easier for you to come back. Um,
Yeah, and it
or at
was
least feel
empty.
non-threatening, like they, especially if you didn't end up buying something, maybe I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
they were
No, big
thinking.
time.
Yeah.
Dude, big time. I mean, it was empty as well because I didn't know this at the time, but a lot of the staff were in the States in a magical place called Clearwater, Florida, doing a mega 3 year training, which is
Yeah.
called the FABC training, the Flag Executive Briefing Course. So there was actually less staff around.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then nobody sold me anything. Like I sold myself, I regged myself, I
Right.
sold myself this stuff. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because you're supposed to sell stuff after the person. It's not just a personality test and then go home. It's not just a stress test and then
Right.
you go home after it. The whole point is to find something. that you can improve on in your life, and then we'll sell you this book or this service. It very much operates like a business, but they literally did not sell me anything. I would say, let me browse around. Okay, let me go around,
Sure.
let me browse around. If there's a book that interests me or something, then I'll pick that book. But you're not going to tell me what to get. It's like a library. Like I'm
Right.
going to go and browse around and I'll find something that interests me or whatever. Same thing when it came to the very, very big major courses, the expensive
Hmm.
courses. They were trying to get me on, it's called the bridge, right? For anybody
Right.
watching, but they were trying to get me on that for a very long time. And it didn't work because I was like, no, I'm going to pick the subjects that interest me. I rebelled a lot.
Sure.
Ian, it took me a while to get into reading. Like I used to hate reading. And
Oh
people
yeah.
were like,
Tell
read,
me about
read, 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 dude. But then it came a phase, and I was like, I love reading, and now I can't
it.
stop
Hmm.
reading. So I rebelled against people forcing me into a certain direction,
Yep.
telling me you have to do this, you have to do this. So
That's so
yeah,
interesting because like I can relate to that because when I came back into Scientology, it was just I had these two guys, these two Regs, the salesmen in Scientology, who just would like knock on my door, and they'd have those like one-on-ones where they'd send them out to recover you.
yeah,
And so they sold me on a life repair, which is like a small auditing program, supposed to fix small, simple things. I was like, I'm just going to do it so long as it works. And, whatever worked meant in my head. So it's like, you go in there, they'll let you like pretend like you're making your own choices because it
mm,
is really all just a means to the same end. But like that feeling of like, they kind of almost let you think you're in control.
yeah.
Um,
And
I
there's a
mean,
lot of
even at
policy on
first,
that as well.
yeah, because it's like it's a slow burn. They want you to see it as a good thing so that you get in and so that you justify the bad stuff a little more.
Yeah,
But that's really interesting. And
yeah, yeah.
so when what how did that translate into you joining staff? Were you just there a lot and then that they someone said you could help some people?
So I was around Scientology for 4 years, but the first 2 years were extremely reserved, and the last 2 years were extremely intense because that's when I got bumped up to an executive. But these
Mm.
first 2 years, I'm very much in and out, in and out, and you got life, you got your friends, you got your family, you've got traveling, you've got studies, you've got all of this stuff, right? So I was very, and I wasn't doing any services. Like I was hardly, I think I did one communications course. Very, very simple. It's usually the first
Is
thing you
it
do.
was it the basic or or
It was one from the Scientology handbook.
the success through the communication course or the
Wasn't even that one.
the HQS or the Scientology where you
No.
literally just did like a what was it?
Okay, so
Was it like a
there
thrown
are
together like fast hat course where you
basically
did? Oh
there
my
is
god!
so many communications courses. There's so many comm courses. There you've got the HQS, which is a major one, by the way. That's like
Yeah,
on their bridge. Then you've got the STCC, Success Through Communication, which you were
that's the
just
yeah
talking about.
yeah
It's about $100. Then you've got for the one from the Scientology handbook as well, because you've got a small little communications booklet.
yeah.
Every single booklet has a course. The cause of
Mm.
suppression, which I think Charlie Kirk was even given at one point. The communications book, all of these booklets, which are about $6 or
Do you-
something, they all have a course.
oh my god! I'm gonna save a very funny Charlie Kirk joke I just came up with for a less serious interaction. I mean, obviously, I don't really take things too seriously on here, but that's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
I mean, they try to
yeah,
get in, they try to save point with everybody. Like,
yeah.
it's that's so funny that you say that, and you said $100. They increased the prices since I was there. There used to be $60.
All the prices got inflated.
That's crazy because it costs so much to continue printing the same books that no one's buying
Yeah,
because their overhead
yeah.
is terrible. I That's crazy. Like, so they were having you on these all these courses. That's crazy. I was the SSO. I was like, I was doing like I was in charge when I was on staff at Atlanta. I was in charge of like staff training and auditing. So I would write the programs,
Yeah.
and like number one is like get them on a small simple course, a communication course. Don't like throw things together or have do what's called high criming, which is like you take like key policies on something if there isn't like a full book written, and you just like word
Yeah.
clear these things, and then you attest that you understand them, and then you're allowed to temporarily deliver such a thing, which is just, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's, and this was, they should have had everything in Edinburgh. I mean, that was an ideal org, right? Or is it like still a small, did they reopen the building?
Yeah, it's just a normal organization. It's not yet ideal. They haven't moved into that big building yet. They have it and they've had it for some
Mm,
years, but they don't have
but
enough
yeah.
staff or people to move
Oh,
into that building.
so it's literally a demand issue. Scientology is attempting to supply Scientology to Scotland, and Scotland is saying we just really just have no, we're not interested.
Yeah,
We
there's no
just
way that's going to happen, man. There's no way. I mean, you're supposed to have 100 staff to move into
yeah
that building, and you need people because otherwise you can't sell services, you can't pay the bills, you can't pay the staff, you can't, there's a whole financial planning. In fact, L. Ron Hubbard did a whole finance series, a whole finance course.
yeah
There's quite a few of them actually for
yeah
staff, for executives, for people to do. I know Grant Cardone talks a lot about the finance courses, how it's anyway, that's a whole other thing. But you need people, and they don't have that. They really do. I think when I left a couple of months ago, they were sitting at about 25 staff members, and they do not have enough people to move into that building. And I think they've had
double
it for nearly a decade. They've had it for nearly 10
yeah
years.
they're double posted too, right? Probably all of them.
Right.
Which
Right,
means that they were,
exactly.
instead of on policy, which is there's a different person on each post for the day and the nighttime and like the week and the weekend. Double posted means they have both. I mean,
They do both shifts.
they do both
Yeah.
shifts, so that's really burning the candle at both ends, and especially in an org that is like barely even operating. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
boring. It's like it goes past boring into frustrating and then back into boring. I think at a lot of points, I remember just like sitting in my auditing room, because there were no people in the org and there were no anything. I was just sitting up there in my auditing room, like looking at Instagram and just being like to me, I have a very specific set of skills. I was sent to Flag to do all this stuff for 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 11 months. I thought that's
Yeah.
my best skill set. I don't do call in. I don't do like I'll do the photos for the events, but like this is fucking boring. Nothing's happening here. And everywhere I went elsewhere it was the same. I mean, obviously you don't spread in theta, so you're not going to like
Right.
talk to the, it's like you can't say anything negative about your org. But like when I was at Flag, they were like, yeah, the events are, they're just lying in the events. Like we've actually been having a lot of problems. Like we have not 10x'd our stats, but it's probably for the greater good, right? To just promote that. So you were
For for the greater good.
the greatest good of the greatest number of dynamics, right? Um,
Oh man.
so what post in the org did you hold, and what exactly were you instructed to do on this post?
I held two. I held two. For the longest time, I was the HES, the HES, which is the HCO Executive Secretary. So I held my responsibilities was 1/3 of the organization in Scotland, like that org. We say org. It's funny,
Yeah.
Church of Scientology, but they don't call it church. They say I'm going to the org or the organization. It's
Because
true
it's
though,
a
right? It is.
because it's a bit, yeah. It if it like it looks like a business, acts like a business, sounds like a business, operates like a business, but wants you to call it a church.
Right. They don't call it, they don't say I'm going into church. They say I'm
Yeah,
going to the org. I'm going to the organization. How's your org
it's it
doing?
it's insane. Oh, Catherine Olson. I don't have a. She says, "Hey, I don't have a. You might as well have the YouTube chat open on like your phone or something. I could pop up another one if you want, but um, here let me see what I can do. I'm gonna put me right here, and we're gonna put another chat. I want you to be able to see people giving you love.
Oh, that's
Chat
cool.
box. Here, we'll put one of these. And then we'll put this right here. And we'll put this right here. And we'll put a little chat box right up here for you so you can
Cool.
see. And I'll have it overlap a little bit. Mostly for the replay crew, because like they want to know what we're reacting to. Oh, this looks a little janky. I'm sorry. This is a... Hopefully you'll be able to read this. Let's see. Does this look like
I pulled it up
absolute...
on my phone, by the way, just in case.
That's fine. Does this look... this look terrible? Okay.
This looks great, man.
Okay, good. Let me make you a little bigger there. Let's just fit us both in the thing. Okay. So, well, I guess I can be up here. We'll pretend like we're looking at each other in real life. Anyway, there we go. This feels a little better. This feels a little more succinct. I can't make it wider, the chat. I can't like undo it, but that should be fine. Sorry, I completely interrupted you. We were talking about you had
No,
two jobs.
it's totally fine.
You were the HES, which is a big post to just off the street.
It's my first job. It's my yeah. It was
Well,
my
I
first
guess
job.
not because you said you were there for a couple years, but like, so at what year did you join staff?
2024.
2024. And how many years have
Yeah.
you been, like, in your participation with Scientology? How many years in was that?
So basically, for 2 years, from 2022 up until 2024, I was very much in and out, in and out. You know, read a book here, do a test there, did an IQ test, did a personality test, did a stress test, did all the bloody tests, and then I did a communications course. It was my first ever course in Scientology. Was not completely transfixed, like I just got revelation. Was not blown away in that sense. It's very, very interesting. There's nothing I can compare to it, especially when you do it the first time. It's like I've never, and I said this to the guy. I've said this to the deputy executive director, the DED. That was the guy's job title, right? I said, like, I've never experienced anything like that before, just because it's, I don't know, looking at somebody for that long. It was just anyway. It's quite creepy as well when you kind of get into the, you know, where that came from and what that kind of does to a human being and the hallucinations that you get as well. But I did that, okay? And then I remember I came in very, very early 2024, and suddenly the building was a little bit more full. And so those staff that came back from the United States, from Clearwater, Florida, after doing this 3-year training, because they have to do it 3 times through.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, you know, anyway, right? But they came back.
The
FEBC training, you do it 3 times through. Yeah.
That's crazy. The whole tip, or just, is it like one course?
You gotta go through the whole thing. You gotta get method 2 word clearing. So you need to go in the electropsychometer, the e-meter, go in the cans, get M2'd on the whole thing. Then star rates and clay demos. You need to put every concept, everything into clay. Plus, you got to get checked out on it as well. Then 3rd time through, you do it normally, and then got to get 100% on the exam. So you do it 3 times through. Yeah.
Damn. I thought the e-meter course was bad. That wasn't even that bad though. Like, that's 2 weeks because you have to do the whole
like
course.
Metering.
Yeah. You have to do that.
I think level 0 which is just after metering, is even longer than metering.
Yes. Well, yeah, because you have to have done all the basics. So when you get into level 0, you have to do Dianetics, fundamentals of thought, science of survival. You have to do
all the books,
880, every single basic, and all of the lectures for level 0, which comprise, which I remember actually the most, from State of Man, obviously, and the level 0 lectures are actually really, they show you where his head's at, and a lot of places it's all insane, but like he really tries, and there's a lot of weird damning contradictions in there too. Oh, we got some guy named Apostate Alex in the chat saying Rogue's like, what did I do to pull this in? What's this guy doing on my screen?
Oh man, not this guy. Oh
my gosh. Yeah, Golden Age of Admin is the entire OEC FEBC 3 times over, cover to cover, 100% pass rates on this.
Yeah.
That's why it took 3 years.
It's brutal.
No
Ian, if I was still
wonder.
there, I would probably be at St. Hill doing my OEC. Then I would go to Flag and do my FEBC.
Oh my god! And you would have been gone forever. You would have made that
Dude, that's
hotel.
3 birthdays, three
Yeah,
Christmases, 3 Thanksgivings. I mean, all of my family would have
full
aged
time,
by 3 years.
full
Full
time.
time on a night shift.
Ooh,
Full time. That's
it's crazy.
brutal.
You might as
That's
well join the
boot
Sea
camp.
Org. You might as well at that point. You like if you're willing to like, you got to know how much suffering that's gonna be. You know, they never tell you that training is gonna be as hard as it is. They're like, oh, it'll take like 4 months max if you get into this. No,
I
because
asked one of the executives, how long would it take for me to do my FEBC now? And she said, probably a year. And I was like, all right,
oh, so that's
a
not
year.
happening. It also doesn't even like it doesn't even really replace the simpler solution, which is just to like digitize the references.
Hmm.
Just have a little like I mean they have SIR at Flag, which is their digital database of like every single reference, etc. But like I
Yeah.
always thought you if like first of all I always thought like if the e-meter wavelengths were recordable or predictable in any capacity, you could like advance the technology to find these specific wavelengths. So that's we could have improved the e-meter like 10 times. But second,
Hmm.
like you know how often people who are fully trained on this stuff just go find the reference anyway? Like look through that. That's what we've been doing this whole time anyway. Like you
Yeah.
make that. I think it's because Miscavige had to change a lot. I want to see like the side by side, the juxtaposition. I think he changed quite a lot, or he added his own, flag orders or something. I mean, everything came from flag orders. Flag orders superseded L. Ron Hubbard's orders when you're at flag and on training. So
Yeah.
it's very that's in 3 times over. The Perth team went there freaking like
Yeah.
like 6 months after I left, and that was years and years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're
Scotland
just getting.
were part of the first batch, and they were the only they were the only
Whoa,
organization that were allowed to send 3 people.
that's brutal. And that's
Yeah.
for you're basically your org is cooked. If you lose 3 people, that's like for
Yeah.
executive training, you lose 3 people who actually, for better or for worse, organize what little they can. That's
It's
crazy.
hell. And it's not even an ideal organization. So there's
Yeah,
hardly any staff. There's not 100 staff. You got about 20 or something, plus you lose three, four, five, other orgs losing more. It's absolutely brutal. Yeah, they suffered for 3 years. I mean, statistically as well, which, I've seen because I had absolutely, I had access to everything. I had stats
yeah,
going back years and years up until the 1970s. I mean, they really suffered. They really
yeah.
suffered financially as well, which is the biggest statistic to them. Like their gross income, their GI was pretty
Oh,
brutal.
oh yeah. I mean, you spent some time in the. Were you ever in the private Scientology Facebook group? You
Oh,
saw
I was in
like,
all of them.
yeah, you see the one of the funniest. I mean, because there are some things like if you know the context, it can get kind of grim, like scrolling now. But one of the
Yeah.
funniest things I see is like no one quotes L. Ron Hubbard on this page unless it has to do with the acquisition of money.
Mm,
Like on this, like they're either being like, you will go free in some vague, the person holding the cert or the semantically identical flag graduation speeches. Like it's always just like a small black text. It's like it's auto finding all of the L. Ron Hubbard money policies and just posting them on a daily basis, and they're just like back to back to back. Like, you must always have money. If you don't have money, that's not a good thing to not have money, because then you have no money. So always make sure that an org has money so that it has money to spend money. L. Ron Hubbard, HCOPL. Who gives?
oh my God. What a phenomenon.
Yeah,
What
it's
that
I
deserves a standing ovation.
I per. Oh, I mean, let me tell you. I did the my memory is very selective, but it's very, for long-term things, very rigid. I did
Yeah.
the when I was training, the only the only thing I could flex was my memory, because like I was like, I have to get home. I have to leave. So I was like pushing myself. I memorized the
Yeah.
laws of listing and nulling in an hour and a half,
Wow.
which I thought was impressive. Um, and then I learned that listing and nulling is bullshit. And that kind of made it a little less impressive. But I was really proud of myself. But like remembering, like one thing I can still do now that's really weird that I do as like a joke is question variation drills. For
Oh
like
yeah. I haven't heard
um
that in a while.
oh yeah, oh yeah, those were fun. But I can do that kind of ad infinitum forever. Like I can do the, is there anything you we didn't quite find out? Is there anything you've almost told us
Oh
on the
my
question? So,
goodness, this is bringing
and
me back.
it's I have a very creepy, like, perfect auditor thing. It's very creepy. Like, to me, a Scientologist might get all the warm and fuzzies, but let me tell you, it's um when I do the whole thing, it's really like, oh, that he looks like a robot, because you have to stand up straight and you have to,
I mean, you have to get your
so,
TRs in, right?
yeah,
Where you have to
exactly.
just be in the moment and get your attention on this guy and not be able to react and all of that kind of
Yeah,
gibberish
which you're
stuff.
trained to tolerate any form of abuse, verbal, emotional, um, physical at
Dude,
a certain point.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, if the guy gets up and just, what do? You have to, there's pot. He just, oh my, it's so different to like
Hmm.
traditional therapy. It's just he really put his own spin on it, and you're sitting like everything. I mean, you sitting on the
Hmm.
far away from the door, like you're not even the closest person to the
Yep.
door. Then if you can't take the session anymore, like and you get up and you try and leave or whatever, well then there's this concept called 8C and body control, and then you
Hmm.
have to drill that a lot of times. You have to get passed on that. There's so much. It's just like
Hmm.
whoa. It's very
I
intense.
Yeah. I mean, I tell this story sometimes. Uh, I was in session at Flag, and the auditor was terrible. Like the whole everything about it was just horrible. I didn't feel good. I was really exhausted. And so I'm like, yeah, this just feels like a waste of my fucking time. And you're like, none of this has been done correctly. I'm here getting trained for the same thing. So if this is like some kind of repair project for you, and like, I would just like to get somebody else. And then he's like, okay. And what an auditor is going to do when he sees a person protesting, they're taught to assume that it's based on a crime that they committed, you
Mm.
know, um, in the past. There's some kind of what they call overts, transgressions that were almost being found out in the session. What he ended up, he was like, "Is there anything you came up with?" And I'm like, "No, but I feel like you're going to ask me about something like." Because I didn't idolize L. Ron Hubbard. I didn't deify him, which was
Right.
another mistake I made. But I said, I don't know, uh, like I didn't like Battlefield Earth, but like I don't think that has anything to do with this. Like I didn't like the movie, and he was like, "Okay, well let's take that up." And I'm like, "No, I don't think we should do that at all." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because it has nothing to do with Scientology." And he's like, "Who wrote it?" And I was like, "Oh, so it's a crime in Scientology to critique any aspect of the founder's life." Hmm. Hmm.
God.
Methinks it's. I mean, man, the amount of bad auditors I got was kind of crazy. Like the few ones I did like are the ones who kind of just treat you like a human being every now and then.
Mm.
Like who are like,
Yeah.
all right, come on, let's we'll get it through. We'll get through whatever we have to. But like they're not your enemy. Some people like sit you down like they're your um you know they're your parent or something. Becky says,
Yeah.
"Can I ask? Do you have to like your auditor?" That's a subjective question. I think I think you would have to be
It's a
comfortable with
good
the person
question.
auditing you, and you can't. There's you're not to permit a frequent change of auditors, but that does kind of happen all the time because there's not a lot of them. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That it's actually a good question from Becky. I'll be honest, I've actually never thought about it until now.
yeah,
I There's a thing in Scientology, especially where you study in a place called the course room, where there's pink sheets, right, which is correction. And I used to make it my mission whenever I was doing my, when I was going through my levels and I was getting auditing and counseling and stuff, and helping people who are training to be an auditor and a counselor. I don't even like using the word counselor, but auditor, okay?
yeah. It's
I,
the
I
right. It's that annoying
yeah,
thing. You got to explain
I
things
don't
to
like using
people,
it.
but it's not what it is. They're not
It's
counselors.
not.
It's
It's not.
in
It's
any
so different.
way.
It's so different. But I
Oh
would
my
make
gosh.
it my mission to
Yeah.
crack them up. And I had the best time. I always get a floating needle, what's called a floating needle, which
Right.
is a very good indicator in Scientology, especially when they're using this e-meter, this electropsychometer. But Ian, I would always try and crack them up. And they would say like, and who else could you say that to? And I'm like, I don't know, Joe Schmo down the street. And he
Mm.
would just burst himself laughing, and he would get a pink
Oh
sheet
my
and
god.
get correction because I'm making him break his TRs, and you're not
Yeah.
supposed to. You're
Not
supposed to be,
supposed to do that.
right.
Yeah.
But it made for a really really good time because
Yeah.
when you're in a session, depending on which level you're doing and stuff, but it can be quite intense. You're looking inside of yourself most of the time. You're going back to
Yeah.
memories. You're revisiting moments which you've forgotten about, which you haven't touched upon in a while. So when you use satire and humor and stuff, and you both break out and start, like laughing so hard you're in tears. I mean, that's what I would try and do, and it's
Right.
because then you become human, and it's not so tense, and it's not so, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I would always
That's
do
against
that.
the rules. Can't do that.
I broke
And
that
have
rule every
empathy.
time.
How you can't have empathy. You can't have sympathy. You can only be effective, Amir.
Right, right. We need
That's the
products.
goal.
That's why.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, honestly, in hindsight, it's always more insane because you're like, no, but there was a reason I had back then why all of this was okay. And they keep you so at the cutting edge of like productive doing something that you don't have time to really think about these things.
Yeah, yeah.
I would rather, base jump into a shallow pool than ever get an M2 done ever again in my entire life. Method 2 word clearing. I
Likewise,
mean,
by the
it's
way,
let
same
me
page.
tell you,
Word clearing is
absolutely,
brutal.
yeah. Dictionaries have purpose, but unfortunately, it's not a. I actually had the the interesting experience of explaining like the Scientology's like uh, the factors, the origins of their universe from like a more deep perspective.
Yeah.
And I had to bring up the fact that misunderstood words and concepts go back to like why they think that like people create like thetans commit overts in the beginning, blah blah blah. And I was like, wow, the amount of context you need to even like that whole like, oh, all you need to do is read for yourself. You're not going to get this at all until you're several million words deep into this thing. And even when you're there, you're already there's that sunk cost fallacy where you've already spent all the goddamn money, and you put so much of yourself into it. I mean, I was born into it, but I've met many people who join uh, and are just pulled in and duped in just so many ways.
Oh my God, dude.
Um,
We could talk about misunderstood words and word clearing for about four hours or something. The word clearers course is today anyway, is one of the biggest and longest courses that
oh yeah,
anybody can do in Scientology is the word clearers course.
because you
It
have to do the
is,
supervisor's course as well.
oh my God, yeah, and you need to learn how to use the meter, and there's be all the word clearing technology, and you need to go straight into that.
Who's a vice versa?
L. Ron Hubbard did what's called the PR series, and in the
Mm-hmm.
PR series, he says it took him 2 hours to redefine the word PR and to word clear himself on the definition of PR.
Yeah.
It's it's and then there's also word chains as well. So if
Yeah.
you're clearing up aberration or you're clearing
Oh,
up a very, very specific Scientology word, because there is Scientologies, because in Scientology, like in many cults, there is their own language and terminology and
yes.
whatnot that you have to learn. So when you become familiar with the language, when you look up certain words, and there's lots, there's DevT, for example,
Ugh.
developed traffic. If we look up that definition and there's a word in that definition in a Scientology dictionary, because there's several Scientology dictionaries, and we don't know that what that word means, then we get into a word chain because then we need to look
Yeah.
that one up. I mean, it is so long. It's so long, dude. It's so
It's
long.
long, it's tedious, and you're forced to make it a part of your standard practice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was getting word cleared on like I have ADHD, but like as a child having like untreated ADHD and then being like it's a lot harder to get me to study, or it was a lot harder to get me to study, especially word clearing, because I'm like, yeah, I get it. You want me to know what the word means. I don't want to be here. I want to be
Mm,
outside running after stuff. I want to be, climbing walls. Like I was just so like all over the place. I did not have an interest in study. Um,
mm,
but that is what Scientology is, especially when you're born into it. It's welcome to the world. Uh, you have crimes in your past life that you have to atone for. So now dedicate your entire existence to this slave-like cause that you actually have to do now for billions of years moving forward. Like the kind of shit that does to a brain in
mm.
general. I mean, even I don't think it leaves anyone, you know, sane. But especially like the whole word clearing, like that it's so intense. They infantilize every single person that comes in by being like, you're dumb because you haven't been doing it our way. But it's like you were just saying, he looked, in the PR series, he's talking about looking up the definitions of PR. This is
Mm.
a group with some of the worst PR on the planet.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, so you okay? So I know how you got out of Scientology. So we're gonna get to that, but before that, I wanted to ask you, um, how did this group chat come to be? Because you were made the PES, so you were in charge of
Oh, PCS. Yeah, yeah,
PCS. Sorry, you were in charge
yeah.
of the public outreach for the org, right? And so, what did you know of like Dr. Berg is gonna help us sell books? Like, how did that even like begin?
So basically, the whole TikTok wave came about first,
Mm-hmm.
and that originated from London. Now, technically, the whole social media thing, it still originated from London, but it actually came from Alexander Barnes Ross more than a
Mm.
decade ago. But regardless, the whole social media thing, the whole TikTok thing came from London. So the guy that's basically running that and taking over that right now is a guy that I'm not too fond of, notoriously, a guy called Mr. Charlie Wackley.
Yes, very
Um,
well known in Scientology, by the way. Very. I mean, many people like him, but he is like kind of he wants to be like the face of young popular Scientology outreach, and it's like it's very desperate and
This is a guy
fake.
that's got a Grant Cardone 10x tattoo on his left shoulder.
Oh my god, that's where you lose. Like that's well, because you can't get a Scientology tattoo without getting it approved, right? Through management. So we had to be like, how can I dick ride this without needing permission? I'm gonna get this guy who prior to Scientology was doing hookers with or doing hookers and blow. He was doing blow with prostitutes, and like they were gonna make Grant Cardone like the voice of Dianetics,
Right,
those Dianetics
right.
videos, and he just couldn't stop like showing up being like, man, I just did so much blow this weekend. It was just so crazy. So like, and he just steals money from people.
Uh,
Like he's
Right.
getting investigated by the FBI as we speak. So like, oh man, Charlie, come on, Charlie,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. Charlie interviews him and calls him Uncle G, so that's his Uncle G. But this is anyway. Some people's experience with Charlie might be different to mine. That's
Sure.
absolutely fine. I the analogy that I give is okay, I was like doing the like a lot of the social media stuff and he's doing a lot of that stuff and I had to work with him on some of the TikTok videos. In fact, I even organized a collaboration video which we ended up throwing Dianetics to each other across the world. I organized that and I had to
Mm,
get London and
I
London were
did.
horrible to work with. Horrible, Ian. They were so slow and they just
Yeah.
didn't answer and Charlie has the worst replies in the entire world. He just takes five
Damn.
years to respond to you. But it's like when you go into school, when you go into high school and you see a pop, there's several popular groups, right? But you're like, okay, if I want to
Mm-hmm.
have a good time or something, maybe these guys would be cool to be friends with. So I just remember I went up to him after hearing about the famous Charlie Wackley, and I was like, okay, well, I'm doing this whole TikTok thing. I'm going to go up and speak to him. And I was like, oh, it was an IES. It was the International Association of Scientologists. It was a big fundraising dinner, which I was at. Very fancy. Food was actually really good. And I went up to him and I was like, hey, Charlie, listen, I'd love to talk to you for a little bit. I'm doing my, TikTok thing over in Scotland. Probably going to be working with you for, in regards to social media and stuff. Can I talk to you? And he was like, yeah, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. So I was like, okay, okay, fine. He's busy. He's busy. He's fine. Met his wife. His wife was very nice. Met the other because a lot of London they're also Scottish. You have the whole
Mm-hmm.
Milton family. In fact, the ED, the executive director of London, Craig Milton, is Scottish.
Mm-hmm.
So met those guys. They were cool. Met Charlie's wife, Kate. Got along fine with her. And then it was like the next day, and I went up to Charlie again. Hey man, listen, I was just wondering if I could maybe talk to you about this or whatever. Very respectfully, didn't bother him or anything like that. I waited until nobody was speaking to him, and he just blanked me completely. Just completely blanked me. And I was like, okay, fine. It's IS time. Maybe he's busy. Went up the next day, and then we've got the IS event, you've got the patrons ball, you've got the charity concert.
Yeah.
He's out. He's got a big white tuxedo. They're very, very flashy people. And I went, hey, can I just get any advice? Any advice? I know you've been doing social media for a while. Do you have any advice for
Yeah.
me? I would appreciate that a lot, respectfully.
You're just
And
doing
it's
your
like, I don't
job.
know.
You're like trying to do this thing called communication that Scientologists are always fucking yapping about, and
Yeah.
he's
So
just
I was like, do you have any
blowing you
advice?
off.
He was like, I don't know if you see my wife. I was like, okay, this guy's a prick. This guy's an asshole.
What?
He was like, yeah. I was like, do you have any advice? Just please, I would really appreciate it. And he was like, I don't know, mate. Just good luck. Oh, have you seen my wife, by the way? And I was like, yeah, this guy's an asshole. This guy
Oh
is
my god.
such. So I
There's
was
something.
from then I was done with Charlie. I was like, no.
Yeah. There's something about those guys because my brother kind of turned into one of those guys, and then when he recently went back to Flag, you know Jordan Berg? Have you heard that name
I've heard
before?
of Jordan. I've heard of Jordan.
Yeah. So because he's the Dur INR at DC, so he's the big, he's like the ethics police, literally, in DC, and has been since he was like 14. Uh, and he's older than he's like 34, almost 35. Um,
Yeah.
he there's this kind of, and I just talked about this on a stream because I was watching these TikToks. That guy from what is it? Was it Minnesota? The guy who's like looks like he's always chewing gum, and he's like, "Come on,
Oh,
let's go."
Gunnar Scharf.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's the DED of Minneapolis.
the DED. Okay, so second
Yes,
in
Gunnar
charge
Scharf.
of the
Yeah.
entire building was the guy that I was comparing to my brother, because there's this flag which I'll call. I use Scientology sometimes because I know that some of them are watching. But like I called it the flag valence, like, like, and I see this with like so many people who go to flag, and my brother embodied this when he went to flag, and then I was on Facebook and I was like kind of just checking in, and then I see like all these other guys on TikTok like doing the same kind of thing. It's like this like pseudo aloof, like he looks like he should be chewing gum, and they They always have the big fancy watch, and then
Right,
the
right,
the clear bracelet on the other one, and they're
right.
always like, uh, they always got to fix some
They
stuff. If
have
they're
their
like
pins as well.
the fat superpower pin on the thing, they're never wearing the jacket. It's always just like, I'm too cool for this. All right, come on in. Scientology has a sauna. Not gonna touch that. It's like, why? I'm not curious. I'm scared. What are you gonna do? Um, I just saw this other lady, like this other lady who's like, I don't know, she has like a couple hundred followers, but she's just doing that whole Scientology TikTok thing with like people, like they put it in a way where like they're trying to convince you that it's okay that Scientology has all these like really toxic policies. Like, well, sometimes people are bad to you, and you have to cut off toxic people. Otherwise, it's like, but no other context. She's my next project. Uh, but, it's just always so. There's this deep kind of level of entitlement that I feel like I always see from Scientologists, and she reminds me a lot of my mom for this reason. But like,
Mm,
they look down on people. They
yeah.
look down on normal people. They see you as a lesser being for not being in their headspace. And that's kind of where I find the danger of Scientology, and especially that they're connected. Like Scientology isn't a belief system. It's a plan. It's like they don't have sermons. They have policy. They have like checklists. They're not, it's like a belief system. They have to believe that all of these things matter and that they work to do it. But it's like, it will take your soul and turn you into something if you let it. It'll turn you into something like, just like, I don't want to say evil, but like absent of humanity. You
It is
know?
a very nasty side of you. I mean, I got trained as a flag trained registrar, so a salesman from flag, like from the CMO, from the Commodore's Messenger organization. They came over
Mm.
from flag. There was a mission sent over to Scotland out to put everybody on flag apprenticeships, flag reg apprenticeships to boost the income and stuff. So when I had joined staff, they immediately stuck me on it. And it really did. I mean, like it does transform you for sure. And you might
Mm-hmm.
not be fully conscious of it at the time. I don't know, maybe you are, maybe you're not. It depends if you're born into it, depends if you jump into it for
Sure.
half a decade, like or whatever. But I'm sure did the same thing with Tom Cruise as well. I mean, if you compare Tom before 1986, before he'd, or in
Yeah.
1986, because I think he went in 1986, when
With
I don't
Mimi
know exactly,
Rogers.
but
Mimi
with Mimi who
Rogers
brought him
was,
in.
yeah, who brought him in, and then they saw opportunities to get Tom, and then I think they used his wives against him a lot. And I think this kind of like, no one will ever love me, David. Why won't anyone ever love me for me? Like, I think Dave was like, tell me about it, brother. My my wife, you know. So
They
I
all
think
had failed marriages. L.
yeah,
Ron
all of
Hubbard, the
them.
founder, the guy who leads it right now, their number one
Yeah,
ambassador, they all have,
yeah.
two,
Like,
three, they all failed marriages.
I'm surprised they don't have like a Scientology like expedited divorce internal, like their own internal marriage divorce system, because that would, I feel like that would skip a lot of steps and keep things moving. It's like, all right, I'm married to this guy this week, and then I'm married to, that person the next week, because now I'm posted in Germany, so I got to marry a German person. I'm not just gonna.
Such a load of crap, man. They've got the
Yeah,
chaplain, which is a position on the org board, on the organizing board. They've got the chaplain. They've got all of the marriage courses. They've got the guy that claims to know
yeah,
all the answers, but not one of them can stay in a healthy relationship. I
none.
mean, none of them.
Yeah, and the chaplain's job is to do what is just to open a Scientology book and be like, well, L. Ron Hubbard says about that is this. So do that.
Yeah.
That's the whole job. And what Scientology marriage counseling, which is just auditing with your spouse there. So it's like guilt offloading, but there's no actually counseling, or counseling suggests that a counselor is giving you instructions or perhaps, allowing communication to occur. It's what happens in Scientology. Auditing and marriage counseling is not communication, even by its own definition. There are all these like visual references, and like there's the Scientology CS1, which is a book titled The Indoctrination Pack. Okay, it's one of the first things that you do when you're auditing, and they'll walk you through it like you're a baby, and they'll be like, this is what we're going to do. This is what you are, and this is what I'm doing, and this is what we're doing. But like, and then they'll go on to auditing, and it's just repetitive. It's like hypnotism. It's adjacent to hypnotism because L. Ron Hubbard studied hypnotism and used it. And there's like repetitive conditioning. Scientologists, I think, benefit the most from like not furthering their real world education when they leave school. I mean, if they even have an education from a school, because most of them are second and third gens, from what I've seen now. So you have 12-year-olds who are like still joining staff or still being allowed to because their mom is like the tech sec or something. You know what I mean? So like, the ones who like have empathy and see a way out and see the harm, I think are the lucky ones. Well, obviously are the lucky ones, but like it's very hard to like avoid that kind of programming. And
Do you know it's see, Ian, I'm really sorry to cut you off. You just made me think
it's
there.
fine. It's fine.
It's such a unique thing. And I'm very, very fortunate, by the way, that I wasn't born and raised into it because in any religion, in Hinduism, in Judaism, in any religion, when you're born and raised into that kind of household, when your parents live and breathe it and practice it, that shapes who you marry, who you don't marry, who your friends
Yeah.
are, what you celebrate, what you do on your birthday, how you view the world, where you go when you die,
How you
who
should
are the good
feel about certain
people.
kinds of abuse, like how you should feel about certain kinds of like contact and expression, It's like
Yeah,
how it's trying to shape how
shapes
you
your worldview.
perceive the world. Yeah. And just like
Yeah.
because anyone can call themselves a religion. Like I don't think people really know this, but like I don't have any problem with religion. I think religion is an inevitability for the
Hmm.
human race. We don't nobody sat us all down and played a video. This is why you're here. This is why you exist. But like a cult is a forceful directive for your life. And this is who you are and what you do now, and you have no choice. It's the removal of the autonomy. And I think religions can act like cults, and then some people can like, oh, well, I don't do this, but I don't do that. But I think what's so obvious and frustrating is like when the group's management intervenes in a way that perpetuates all the bad parts, like the actual bad, like the manipulation or the control, the legal threats, the harassment, etc. Whatever form that takes, because it varies by belief system. The behavior is what makes you the cult, and Scientology is structured as a cult, as a business cult, and the only reason that it's not being treated like it for some reason is that it has this small clause of American protection under some bogus IRS ruling from 30 years ago that we're actually surprised it hasn't been retaken a look at. Now there are Scientologists hanging out with Donald Trump. How can we expect
Yeah.
to have these groups be held accountable and not have this happen to them if the people who are supposed to care don't? I mean, I just think it's like, give Scientology a year to get its act together and to get all its, to to stop doing all of these things. And I mean, they won't. They'll probably try to destroy all the people at the IRS. But I was like, give them a year. Say next year you have a checklist. You have to actually improve the community in which you steward and people have to actually say, yeah, it's better to live in this Scientology community because of their efforts. You know what I mean? Like some kind of like
Yeah.
record keeping, because Scientology tries to keep everything to itself, and I just think that's so fucked. Like they lie and then they distort facts, and it doesn't matter, to them what the truth is, and that's how. I mean, people. The only way to get people in is to find people to cast the widest net and to get people in who have never heard of it. And
Yeah.
that's what happens. So I totally agree with you. This is a very dark side of people, and it's not conscious. I mean, you know why you're doing it, and you know that the other person won't. There's no, what is it? You'd say there's no reality. Like they don't have the context. They haven't read the books that I've read that tell me why I'm supposed to follow this person's orders and sell you a clear package. Um,
Right. I mean, it's just there is an unbelievable amount of contradictions in Scientology.
yeah.
I don't know how you can have in the way to happiness to follow the law of the land and to, obey the government and to
Oh my
obey
God.
this stuff, but then to
Oh
have all of the Office of Special Affairs networks and orders, also to have in the ethics book that if you report a Scientologist or Scientology to law enforcement, then you've committed a high crime and you're most likely going to get a committee of evidence and there's going to be ethical
yeah.
punishment. There is an unbelievable amount of contradictions. And I know that LRH wrote a lot. I know that Ron
Mm-hmm.
had written so much. I think he's even got a world record because he's the most prolific writer of all time or something like
He
that.
yeah he published
Millions of words. I
he
mean,
published like a lot of his policies as their own books, as their own authors. So he was able to get actually like what is 1,084 total published. The second highest guy is like 40 books off or something, but he actually wrote books. L. Ron Hubbard wrote,
whoa.
like he would publish, like especially for Able and like those things, like he claimed all of those as published works. So it's a little bit of a cheat code. Um,
Right.
but it is,
But
yeah,
dude,
like you were
there's
saying, it's very
so many
laborious.
contradictions, man. So
Mm-hmm.
many, and so many just despicable, horrible things. I find it hilarious now that these guys would say, we are a religion, and we are. I mean, there's
The
just so many
most
contradictions. It's like we're a
the
religion. We're
most
here to
ethical
save
group.
man, the most ethical group. We're here to save man. We're here to free man. But then when you go ahead and read the OSA networks, OSA being their intelligence, because this religion has their own intelligence agency, which they took things from the CIA and
Yeah.
the government and what the KGB and whatnot, and he's taken things from Alexander the Great, and he's taken things from Marcus Aurelius and from Sun Tzu's Art of War. He just pulled stuff from everything, and he
Yeah.
said this is how you go and seek and destroy people, and this is how you corrupt the groups and stuff. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
contradictions in what LRH says, and that's the funny thing because I was also when I was an executive, is when you sit down on these meetings. And L. Ron Hubbard says this is the purpose that you have an organization is to sell and deliver services to people. And then in another one, this guy's like, well, no, he says here that the purpose of an organization is to do this. I mean, and they would just kind of go at it for 20
Yeah.
minutes. It's just so many contradictions in what he has written.
It's so funny. Storm said he's the Taylor Swift of writing books. Just keep releasing different versions and making people buy them. That would, I mean, David Miscavige would be the Taylor Swift of Scientology. Let me tell you, he's trying to keep the party going. He's like, guys, we went in some guy's attic and we found a new book. It is $7,000 to do this course though, and you will have to do it 6 times over. Like if you have to do any course 3 times in a row, you need to change the book. The book is the problem if you have to read it 3 times in a row. Like they don't realize it's like it's not or you think everyone's an idiot, which I think is the simpler effort for them. So
Crazy. Also blows
Yeah.
me away how you have to pay to be spiritually free.
Yeah. That's
If
the
you want
I
to
think
go
that
spiritually free, and believe me, I'm here to make you spiritually free, and I'm trying my best to
yeah,
help you. But
it'll be
if you can't pay
28.
me $10,000, then I'm sorry, you
Yeah.
can't go spiritually free.
Yeah,
Bummer.
it's sorry. I would give you a discount, but it is Thursday at 3:44 p.m., so I can't do that. Actually, it
It's
was
so
cheaper.
messed up.
It was cheaper like an hour ago, but now you owe us. Now you have to pay all this extra money. Like, you know, uh so so you were working on, they were doing this whole TikTok marketing program, Scientology being the most unsellable thing in the world. Um, like I think it's sort of, it telegraphs their desperation when they break their own rules, and it's like, well, we don't need TikTok because there's a bunch of SPs on there. And then it's like, well, we might actually need TikTok because nobody's here. Okay, so just block all the SPs. Here's a list. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a list. But so when you and I started speaking, you were you told me that you were a part of this group chat that's,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong. So the it was Scientology basically. My dad, was it originated by my dad, or did someone get him to do it?
It was, I think he makes it sound like it was his idea. I
Sure.
honestly don't know, but he makes it sound like his idea, it was his idea. And so there's another Sea Org member called David Hostetler, who is, a
Mm-hmm.
Sea Org member who works in New Era publications. But essentially, your dad did a webinar which went onto every single group chat. And so everyone's like, oh, okay, Dr. Eric Berg's doing this webinar and you should totally join it and blah, 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 blah. So everyone tunes in for this webinar, which goes into every group chat. And, it's pretty normal. Tom Cummings, who's the second biggest donor of Scientology, does a webinar. There's Bob Duggan, who's another major donor in Scientology, does webinars. It's a pretty normal thing for these donors to get people to do stuff. It's kind of the purpose of any webinar or any lecture or any event is just
Sure,
the whole
sure.
point of it is paying money or do something. But anyway, he does a webinar and he says that we need to create a social media boom. And he says that there is a lot of black PR, what they call black publicity, which is
Right.
really just the truth, but they call it black publicity. And he says that we need to fill in this void. And this is per his own words. And now we have videos out there that show him saying this as well. He says,
Right.
we need to fill out this void. So David Hotstetler, as the Sea Org member, basically he says, okay, we're going to start a YouTube pilot project. And we're going to, and by the way, you said something fascinating, Ian, which was Scientology is kind of unsellable, which is
Mm-hmm.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. Honest, but
I mean,
what do you
yeah.
do when in that situation you don't sell Scientology, you sell something else. You have to
Yes.
rebrand, right?
Yes.
So
Which
you
is
know where I'm
why,
going with this.
yeah. And then, like, which is the most insane shit that they said, instead of doing something like trendy, they were like, no, 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 no. We're going back to the old faithful Dianetics.
The book that started this all off in
Oh yeah, the
1950-75.
notoriously the best one of the series. Let me tell you, the best of the Scientology series. It's no Hunger Games, but let me tell you, pretty archaic, to say the least. Some problems. I love with these like videos like Elena Cardone, like, and her
Oh,
skeletal
she's raving about
emotionless.
it now.
Oh yeah, she's like skeletal and emotionless smile, like being like, I study this book every day. And it's like, all right, now flip to the page where it says that a little girl shouldn't care about being kissed by an old man. Like, go skip to the page where it justifies.
Homosexuality is an aberration. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like,
There's a lot of stuff in there. Yeah.
yeah, they even tried to remove it from. They tried to remove that from Science of Survival. The whole, gay people are on the same aberration as pedophiles and sexual deviants, and like, you can't like all the people still in Scientology learned that. You know, maybe
I
they
mean, this is the
had
same guy that had messengers bathe him, 14-year-old girls wearing very inappropriate clothes, be at his service. Not, this is L. Ron Hubbard that we're talking about on the ship. I mean, this is the guy that we're talking about, right? So there is a lot of things that there's a very famous, because I'm a film geek and I love to throw up pop culture references and stuff, but there is Oliver Twist, and they used to put kids to work in factories and not pay
right,
them and hardly feed them and stuff. And that's still happening today. I mean, it's still happening today, and it's something that I speak a lot about. Is because they need to fill up these buildings and have more staff and have more people. And since in Scientology, a 14-year-old is considered a grown adult,
right,
they put all of those abusive practices on these kids. And so these kids are working full time. They're not being compensated. They're not being paid, which is highly illegal. They are being given executive posts, job titles, offices, hours that they are expected to show up as, which is funny because in the staff contract it says, it's a voluntary thing and yada yada.
right.
That's poor. That's if we want to talk about semantics and definition of words, and that's very
Yeah,
poor from you guys to call it voluntary, because I
yeah.
can't just show up whenever I want to. I mean, you
Well,
are expected.
yeah.
These kids are expected to show up.
They'll say something like, "Well, voluntary, but you're responsible. Your level of responsibility needs to be raised to, on the third dynamic, your responsibility needs to be for actions which you are and are not involved." And if you're harshing our vibe, doesn't that also kind of feel like a suppressive act? That you're impeding our emotional wavelengths of success and your counter posture. Like, you can literally tie yourself into an ideological knot. When you said, I knew he locked kids in closets, and I knew that L. Ron
Chain
Hubbard,
lockers,
like
closets, yeah,
chain lockers in the bottom of, not just like a closet. L. Ron Hubbard locked
yeah,
children in chain lockers and the hull of a ship for days.
yeah. If
Okay?
that thing fell, then you'd be dead.
Yeah. If you like, yeah, if any emergency situation, dead. On any, I mean, you just
If
forget
the
about
anchor
them for a
fell, you
little
would
too
be
long.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, oh right, because it's the chain locker. Yeah, wow, that would
yeah,
rip you
yeah,
right in half.
yeah, dude.
I
There's rats in there. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, and so like I knew he did that. I also knew he said that the most ideal messenger, Commodore's messenger, is like a 6-year-old child. And I think that's because he saw children as like helpful vermin, or like from what I perceived, it was like he didn't really care about anyone, but
Mm.
everyone was useful to him. And children, I mean, the bathing thing does not surprise me. I think enough people. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with something called REMCOA, but it's a REMCOA, I think. It's a sort of evil that I think L. Ron Hubbard would have been very interested in. It has to do with like the the exploitation of children to the extent that they are like manipulated to be in a like a I'm going to butcher the definition, but like a psychosis or sort of disconnected state from the incidents or from reality, and it prevents them later on from having a thought out. They can't sue that person. They can't ever have any recompense because this person is sort of left in like a psychological shambles,
Yeah.
fantasy land, and it's like Epstein, and it's like what nightmares are made of for these kids. And I think and I say this just because it's mostly true, is like we're not really going to hear about the worst things that these people did. Or we will, but like you'll never really know because they all happen behind closed doors. But I think L. Ron Hubbard had enough people slavishly captivated that there was a similar kind of I mean, think of how long it took for the public to, insist at least that it'd be safe to talk about Scientology. I mean, only from like, I mean, it's hard not to because they commit a lot of crimes constantly, all
I
the
mean,
time,
every day.
every day in every continent,
Yeah,
except for
it's a
Antarctica,
global problem.
thankfully, untouched by the Scientology problem. It is a global problem. I mean, a lot of people don't know. These people want
It
to
is.
own the world. They want to take over the
They want to clear
world.
the planet, right?
Yeah. I mean, mathematically, they're off by a lot. I did the math, and it was like, it was insane. Like, do I have it written down?
Well, I mean,
I
Ian,
have
it's
it
it's just impossible. It's
somewhere.
impossible.
Yeah.
They have these clear bracelets, and
Yeah.
it says 79,000 on it, so you've hardly even cleared a town, but
Mhm. I'm
it's impossible because
73,344.
that's
So
incredible. I mean, it's
in the five
impossible.
years that I've left, in this almost 6 years that I've left, they haven't even cleared like 3,000 people. At this rate, they will need to operate for
Yeah.
like the next like 200 million years at clearing like 1,000 people like an hour or some crazy like high number that's like even beyond their own like diluted understanding of their expansion. They never do the math to like realize, oh, this might be a little trickier.
But the thing is, you're operating in a Lala Cuckoo land over there, and you're playing costume, dress up, and make believe. Because
Yeah.
how the hell are you going to clear the planet when you can't even speak to enemies of your organization or declared SPs? If
Yeah.
you can't speak to those guys, if you can't look in the direction of them, if you can't walk on the same side of the street as them, if you can't
Exactly.
if you can't clear, by the way, just clear the planet. Everyone needs to do their purification rundown.
Mm.
Everyone needs to do all of these services, be on the bridge, have enough money to go all the way up to the state of clear. If they,
Yeah.
there's certain things that it's like a lot. It's a lot,
Never
right?
have taken
But
any psychiatric drugs or had any kind
you
of
can't have
psychiatric
taken any
treatment.
psychiatric drugs. You have to have enough money to even be able to do it. So all homeless people cannot be cleared. I mean, it's actually
Correct.
impossible. It's
Yeah.
actually impossible to clear the planet. So
E-
it's just dress up, make believe.
Yeah. And that every Scientologist, every like active Scientologist that I see in any kind of like good standing with the community is like going in the direction of MAGA and fascism and racism. And then to see what's his name, the San Francisco, is he still the PS of San
Oh,
Francisco?
Andy
Yeah,
Holmes. Yeah.
Andy, that guy with the guy I was talking about, he was made the TikTok about like the aims of Scientology, which I just think is
Yeah.
such a joke. A world without criminals and without war, where the able are free to become more able and
Well, it's
rise
funny.
to
He
greater
says
heights.
where the honest have rights or
Yeah.
something. Where the honest have rights.
Oh, maybe that's why they feel like they're such victims, is because they haven't earned rights yet. They're so dishonest. It's like a cognitive dissonance of like, why isn't this working? It's like, oh, because we've been lying. Like if they're honest about it, I never know why Scientologists are so like at this point. It's not. I'm always like, stand on your business. I'm standing. I stood on my business. I did a very simple thing to blow the whistle. Is I indicated that my father, who paints himself as this very specific person, was in fact being deceptive, and instead was not only not the man he pretends to be, but like he's giving all this money to this very problematic group that hurts people, that covers up for pedophilia, global abuse, and
Yeah.
you know, I said in the first TikTok, I said my life is over after I make this because he is going to come after me. And he did. And he drove 4 hours from his compound, in his remote farm compound, to my house and banged on my door for like almost 45 minutes. And if I opened that door, I don't know what he would have done. But like, like I knew not to open that fucking door because these people are not well. Okay. Not all of them are, evil, diabolical criminals, but none of them are well. And I think I feel bad. I mean, I see people that I audited up through their net, and I feel bad because they're still in. But I don't blame myself because I was seeking, like I was seeking to do something, like to find some kind of purpose. What? So
Mm.
when you went to, so my dad had this idea. He said, I'm gonna save Scientology by creating a bunch of mini me's. I'm assuming he made that reference at some point because he does like to think of himself as like the divine source of like good information. That's why he's branding himself the knowledge doc legally himself. Um,
Yeah.
like, what did they think this was gonna do? Like, did they have any? Because in the Chat GPT written thing that my dad made, he acknowledges that people see it as a cult. He acknowledges that people are going to find it manipulative. And then he also acknowledges you have to you find your way around that. You handle the objections. Mixing hard sell with like Scientology manipulation, which is very
Mm.
common. How, despite his like delusions of grandeur, because I'm sure he thought it was going to work, like, what was the momentum like? Was there like a lot of energy around this project? Like, I know there were only so many people allowed in the group chat, but was there how many people were like on this project?
Let's
Because
check.
he wanted like thousands of YouTube channels, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he actually wanted 10 million.
Well, chat. He's gonna use AI for that. Let me tell you, Well, he probably thinks that there are millions of Scientologists too.
42. 42
Floating around.
people.
42 people. 42.
42 people in the group chat. Yeah.
That's almost 10 million. If like it's closer to 10
It's
million
close. It's close.
than negative 10 million. That's so
He's
crazy.
getting there. Good
Yeah.
job, guys. Keep going. Keep
Yeah,
going.
hell yeah. Next 40 million years, we'll be at 1 million people
We're
cleared.
on the road to doing it. Let's go, guys. Come on. Pump those videos out.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
It's so
man.
crazy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and he had some test pilots too. He had people make the pilots for him, but those weren't published.
No, they were not. He did research. He used ChatGPT. Manuel Suarez jumped on this thing.
Of
Other
course he did.
people jumped on this thing. Now, it's called the YouTube Pilot Project, and it's actually technically taken off. I mean, you can see some people, not a lot of people, some
Mm-hmm.
people have started a channel where they talk about Dianetics and not Scientology. They strictly do not speak about Scientology, but they speak about how Dianetics can help with your mental health because, there's a word that they use in the Scientology world called buttons, and you have to know which buttons to push, which buttons will get reactions, which buttons will resonate with people, subjects, words, all of that kind of stuff. So this whole thing is supposed to be for like public, what you would call public. We're not
Yeah.
talking about members of the C organization. We're not talking about staff members. We're talking about public, like people, like Tom Cruise talking about Dianetics, like Grant Cardone, like
Right.
Elena Cardone, like Jenna
J- uh,
Elfman, like we want
what is his name?
everyone jumping on
J-
this.
Jason Doring, I think he was also
Jason
doing.
Doring.
It's like a
Yeah, there's supposed to
podcast
be a
he's working on.
podcast which hasn't released. I know it's hilarious. They released that. No, sorry, they announced that last year at the
Yeah.
Dianetics Diamond Anniversary 75th
Of
event or
course.
whatever. A year later, it still hasn't come out, which
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Just played a video the other day when we were reacting to these these Scientology propaganda videos, and it's just Jason grinning from ear to ear, posting on the private Scientology group. He's like, "I'm so excited, guys! This is just my dream come true. This is gonna be so." And you can see he's like beaming, and I'm like, Jason, it's shit or get off the pot. That's what we say in America. It's you do it or you do it or don't.
Right.
Other people, like, this is obviously not going to work. Also, I think Tampa. You know Tampa Brad. You heard of him?
Of course.
Yeah, Brad Banchard,
He,
but
he was in Scotland
whatever.
recently, Tampa Brad.
Oh, interesting. Well, he's because he's doing his little
There's a massive
the
fundraising dinner where Tom Cummings was in
yeah,
Scotland, and
because
yeah,
he's yeah. I mean, I mean, he's got Manuel Suarez in one hand, and then he's got the Tom Cummins in the other. His name is a little. Tom's name doesn't really. It's almost ironic there. Sorry,
yeah, yeah.
it's so funny his story because
I mean, his wife did OnlyFans before he, was in
yeah,
Scientology.
yeah, and she had to give up her bag, which I think is just disrespectful. I mean, I'm not. First of all, I don't judge people's life choices, but something tells me her husband does because he was fine profiting off of this, even though it goes against like everything Scientology stands for.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Scientology was profiting off of it because, well, she wasn't not popular, and so I'm assuming financially, now he has to do this whole home love construction podcast where he's just interviewing Scientologists in like one of
yeah.
the
They've got the
shittiest
Don't Do
sets.
Nothing podcast.
Yeah, which is funny because that's like especially that's specifically what Scientologists do is nothing. I mean they do stuff, but it doesn't ever equate to anything.
That falls
So
under the whole YouTube pilot project because they talk about how
yeah,
they got into it. They also have the Dianetics book on the shelf there. They've had Elena
mm,
come on. They don't have staff come on, but they have these bigger donors, these public, right? Specifically Flag public. Flag being, in Clearwater, Florida, which is funny because not anybody can go to Flag. I mean, you have to get, a security check. You have to be approved. I mean, like
mm-hmm.
you're only there if you're meant
Yeah.
to be there. You can't just wander into Flag.
I had to get an EKG one time to go to Flag.
Yeah.
Like,
I've never
because
been. I've never been to
that
Flag. Been to St. Hill loads of times, but not
you're
not
right.
Flag.
Flag Flag is like it's what it feels like a dumb person wants living like a wealthy person to feel like. It's like
Mm,
it's kind of like they want you to feel like you're Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone 2 uh where he's like in New York and in the fancy hotel and everything's great and everything's shiny. There's marble everywhere. There's a hole in a mountain somewhere where where they took all the marble because it's all identical in every corner of the fucking building. It's why it costs over $400 million. Um,
wow.
but it's a fortress, and
Mm,
it's meant. I think. I mean, it's meant to be uh the spiritual mecca, as it were, and they used to say that they don't say that anymore, because it was like problematic. They didn't want to sound like like the brown religions. They don't like to sound like that actually. They're more the white religions buy the courses, so we like those guys. And we'll also we don't disagree with black people. See, we have a black friend. It's called the Nation of Islam, and they do
right, right.
all the PR for us, so we don't look like we were founded by a belligerent racist sociopath who tried to write a constitution for Rwanda. He was so racist that the apartheid state of South Africa was like, "We don't want you here. You're doing too much." Um,
Tries to take over Rhodesia, Zimbabwe as well. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. Catherine says, "I wish I knew what policy it was, but there's definitely a recommendation against talking about Scientology to raw public and only talking about Dianetics." Yeah, yeah. There's also like back to basics. There's I mean, Dianetics. He forced it so much, I think, in the early days that it just kind of became this concept of a perfect book that was released. Like it's the perfect concept when you'd get more people joining Scientology if they were all picture books.
mm,
Like if there was like the people you want to join Scientology are not the people who are going to join Scientology because Scientology is not a group full of intelligent like definitely not scientific, but not like really self-aware people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you and myself, I mean, when I was in, I wasn't self-aware. I pretended that I was self-aware, but I still justified it because, uh, they're all that's there, so much as I knew.
It's
Um,
funny how L. Ron Hubbard says, I'm different to most gurus and, all of these guys because to understand life, one must live life. And he says that. And there's a film on it as well, I remember. But, most of the staff and most of the, in the sea organization are just indoors all day. They don't go out and
yeah,
live life and expect they don't really go on the internet much. They don't know what's happening. Like this, so it's very, very outdated.
yeah, and it is sort of like a living your life. Like if you're a low self-esteem person looking for purpose, you can live a life of adventure and mystery and fantastic intrigue and cosmic, space opera, uh, like vicariously through the words of L. Ron Hubbard. And there is a lot. So, because that's a good point. Like a lot of these, my brother, who's never done anything else but Scientology, P's and Q's always in a row. He went to Scientology schools. He never, he went to Flag several times, got his training when he was supposed to, never missed a day. Was allowed to live in my parents' basement until he was married with a child. So he was given
Wow.
preferential treatment because he was a staff member. But like he made an I Am a Scientologist video for the Scientology Network where he says that he's a musician because he plays guitar when he's not on staff. And he says this thing, Scientology just solves problems. And once you find the anatomy of a problem, you can solve it. And there's no other system that does this. And I'm like, compared to what, Jordan? Compared to, like, you were told to believe this. And I can't, that's why I can't take, like, the second gen Scientologists seriously, because they always sound the same. They always start with personal attacks. They do the whole don't fill the void from PTSSP course, which is like obvious. They're not going to actually respond to the dialogue. They just want to like pop in. I get a few in my chat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell if it's like an OSA person or if it's a Dr. Berg fan or what, because they all kind of sound the same. But
By the way,
you know
PTSSP is hilarious because it literally says, PTSSP, which is, potential trope
how to
source and
how to
suppressive person,
confront,
how to confront and shatter
shatter.
suppression.
Yeah, how to
But they don't
confront
even
and
walk on
shatter
this. They don't
and
walk on the
shatter.
same side of the road as you.
It would just do or. Just replace replace it with or, and I think you'll have a lot. Like, not everyone wants to, have the energy to shatter. None of them do it. Make it optional because they're not doing it. No one's shattering. No one is shattering suppression. Bar for bar, ex-Scientologists. Well, I should say bar for bar Scientologists are the one to like retreat the most. I've had several close counters with, online where I'm like on Reddit and there's some Scientologists being like, these critics are usually found to have some kind of blah blah blah, and I've never seen any of the things that they say. And then I just sort of break down like, okay, so now you're on the internet defending Scientology. That you've already broken the rules. Number two, you're lying. Or number three, you just got in and you're really eager to be a keyboard warrior. Like the newest people, I'm like, so what have you done? And that's the first thing I ask, and they're like, well, I'm halfway through my HQS and I'm starting my Purif right after. And I'm like, oh, so you're brand spanking new. Or they're like, oh, I've done self-analysis and I'm on my life repair. I'm like, okay, again, you really don't, you're on
Brand
your
new
way.
public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, the more you put into it, the more you'll see like how actually destructive it is. It's just the matter of whether or not you're the kind of person with the self-respect enough to care whether it's happening to you or whether it's happening to another person. I felt bad when I had to talk about this. Before I knew that NOI was like sort of a cult itself, I was
Yeah.
like, we had a lot in Atlanta. A lot of people come in and they join staff, which was really weird to me at the time. Because I was like, do they know that we're not gonna? We don't believe what they believe. Do they know that? Doesn't matter. So there was a young kid, and he had a brain injury from a bullet wound. So he had a different eating schedule. And he had different, needs, for example, and getting him on the meter was a problem because, there's some like perspiration issues, or you have to set up the person for each session, and there's a checklist. He has a specific needs. He wasn't dumb, or he wasn't like, he just had an injury, so he like acted different, and but he was observing Ramadan.
Right.
So, but he was a staff member who had to get on course or get in session. And L. Ron Hubbard says you have to eat and like you have to be fully rested.
Yeah,
and
you
well
cannot
slept.
go into session. You can't study unless
Yeah.
you've had sufficient sleep and sufficient food. That's right.
Right. Unless you're in the Sea Org.
Right.
Which then those do not apply. You are not a person.
It's far more brutal. Yeah.
Yes. And
there's also no mixed practices as well, which is also in the reference.
Right. Which is another reason I was confused. I was like, okay, I can't do
it's
yoga.
in KSW, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't do yoga, but these guys have a whole other belief system. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
we're open to everybody, Ian. We're open to everybody.
But all are allowed in. Everyone's allowed in.
Everyone's allowed in. Everyone's allowed in. We don't mix practices, and you can't do that, and you can't do, but everyone's allowed in.
Literally, doors are open to all.
Many contradictions. It's just
doors are open, but we've taken the door knobs off, so you have to find a way to do that. Oh, the speed running thing was so fucking
climb the
stupid.
ladder.
Yeah, like, the fire. If you can get in the fire escape. So, but like, we were just talking about.
Yeah, so this guy was, it was Ramadan. He was fasting. And
Right.
In session.
So I had to kind of be like, all right, meet me halfway, But I felt bad about that. Like, I'm like, we are intervening. Like, if this had happened to me, I would be feeling, I put myself in his shoes, and then I learned that the way to happiness is bullshit. The way to happiness is a PR tool.
Next time.
No Scientologist. You're trained to be the opposite of what it teaches you. Say for brushing your teeth and eating food and sleeping well, sure. But like, sleep is a luxury in the Sea Org. Okay. Also, like, you can do anything as long as Scientology benefits on the back end. There is no, like, as long as the numbers that Scientology is recording or as a statistic, they don't give a fuck who you treat, how you treat them. If it becomes public, that's a problem. But then it would turn out to be a negative, a detraction.
Doesn't L. Ron Hubbard say in a reference, doesn't LRH say that if the stats are up, then you could get away with death?
Murder, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
The killing of another person is, by policy, permissible so long as your stats are up. So say we all, L. Ron Hubbard.
Well, if that's what source says, then that's what source says, fine.
which to be honest would work a lot more than the slow burn of like manipulating people on the street. They'd be like, okay, fine, I'll buy a course, Jesus. But like they're just not honest about it because they don't know what parts to be honest about. They're like, do we talk about the alien parts? Do we talk about the family controlling parts? Do we talk about the like, the overt withhold phenomenon parts, which are really one way and they cannot be applied towards any management personnel, especially the leader of Scientology, because for some reason he's exempt from that. Meaning they think that if you're critical of someone that you've done crimes, but Scientology and Scientologists can be critical of anyone. outside without the same thing. Yeah, but they violate that. Your
Yeah.
stats can be affluence, and you can still get a ComEv, even if the right person was a ComEv you. I was upstat at Flag, and they couldn't do ethics on me, so they took me out of the course room and left me in the ethics space for like 4 hours alone,
Wow.
just so my stat would drop, so they could take me out of the course room. Uh, because they had
The
an emotional.
hell?
My MAA had an emotional vendetta against him, and his MAA was pissed that he wasn't. Well, he was pissed first that I wasn't my brother, because I guess they had trained together, which was so funny. He would be like, "You're nothing like your brother." And I was like, "Yeah, no shit, dumb fuck. We're different people." Like, I think his name was Davis, something Davis. He was the Kant Pool's MAA IC for OOTs. So he was in charge of all the out of work trainees at Flag. One of the biggest pieces of shit you will ever meet in your entire life. Just a chip on his shoulder, acted like a dick to everyone. And he was like the snarky. He's like, he got off on it, and that was like his thing, is like putting these guys through lines. So that he had the most annoying fucking voice too. Oh, he was such a little bitch. But he could corner me in the room. I was, he'd bring me back in the room, and I'm looking down at this guy because he's like right here, and he's like, "And you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and you think you're gonna fuck with the stats of my thing," and he's like screaming at me, and I'm like, I was afraid at the time because I had like shit to lose, but it was just so. And he's like, "You're nothing like your brother," and I'm like, "Yeah, you want to just nail that down? Are you stupid?" Like, anyway, so there this whole tiff with these guys, but
God.
they had like personal vendettas against me. They would ignore policies that I submitted in my own defense because I was like too smart about it, and they thought I was trying to game the system. I mean, it's so easy to like follow instructions when they're laid out for you.
Mm.
I didn't see that like I was supposed to just be a mindless drone. Okay, I didn't know I was
Yeah.
supposed to be, and you see it. I mean, when you leave, like your anger,
They
however,
basically
like,
just want you to be ChatGPT.
yeah, they want you to be just a responsive model that responds, does all the right. I mean, even listening to your anger, I used to feel like I was going too far in expressing my anger about it, but like bad feelings are good to feel because they're human and everyone has them, and they're not going to be avoidable. And I think people who want to block it out and push it down, and it's only always going to make it's true avoidance. It's true avoidance. The inability to confront, I always felt, is like a crutch. I was like, then why don't you confront SPs? Why don't we confront people who are critical of Scientology? Why don't we?
Mhm.
And so like I was always like, let me give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just don't know. And to see that switch into anger, and like it's like, I'm gonna be the best Scientologist. My senior's gonna give me a commendation because I'm gonna be a asshole to you, and a stat is gonna magically increase.
Mhm.
Um,
It's funny. It's
so
very different to Mormonism. JWs, like Jehovah's Witnesses, will just stand there. Like they don't usually approach you, but they'll just stand there with their free Bible courses, and you
yeah,
can go up and speak to them. And Mormons will walk around and they'll invite you to church, but you can say, "Listen, to be honest with you, I have some problems with your belief system. Joseph
yeah,
Smith obviously practiced polygamy, and I don't understand this, and I don't understand that. Black
right.
people couldn't have the priest." And you can sit and speak to them and say, why couldn't black people hold the priesthoods? Why do women always have to dress in skirts and
Mhm.
stuff? And
Why
it's you
were
guys are very
black people only considered human in the 1970s by the Mormon Church?
Yeah, like there's so many changes, and there has to be like, civil rights to come, and then you guys
Yeah,
change that, or there has to be, for you to go and change your, scripture and stuff. But there's a
right.
lot of things, but they'll sit and they'll say, "Okay, like I hear you and stuff." Scientologists are different from Mormons and Joe. They will not listen and hear you out. They'll be like, sorry, but I've got stats. They will not listen to
Right.
you.
Entitlement to their purpose and not yours, because you are a means to their end.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah,
statistic. You're a body in the shop. They are a good Scientologist who's getting praise and getting FSM commissions,
yeah.
and so like, I think if you, I do think it is how the management of the religion behaves when confronted with public criticism that
Mm.
defines its nature as a cult. And also, sects can branch off. I mean, independent Scientology is its own thing because it's so like the only thing I really consider to be Scientology is what it's been at the place that it is. Like, it is itself an authoritarian, like controlling structure to extract money from its members. It's the independent Scientology thing. I don't even see as a threat because they feel like they're self-important to deserve all the promises that L. Ron Hubbard promised them, but not actually have any accountability for the harm that Scientology causes. They leave the oppressive group to be like, I still want that on my own terms. So I don't consider them the same. But Mormonism, for example, acts a lot like a cult at times. Um,
Mm.
it's it aligns itself with a Christ originated story to
Yeah.
say like, well, actually, did you know that there's like a secret book that wasn't in the Bible where Jesus went to America, and the Garden of Eden is in Jackson County, Missouri.
Right, right.
So
I think that the Scientology story is way more like in terms of the theology of
Scientology
Scientology is
is
way crazier than Mormonism.
oh, whew, well, because
Like
it's too
what L. Ron
vague. It's like,
Hubbard,
well, this you mean OT3 and the incident 1 and 2 and all
yeah.
that?
Like if,
Yeah.
if if you took acid, I don't think you'd be able to come up with something like that. You know. It's-
I actually, yeah, I mean, you're right. For the average person would be very, I was actually scarred by Ned. I think Ned really
Mm,
made me feel like a human because New Era Dianetics, which is what Dianetics became, that he even on the pack says is 100 times better than normal Dianetics, and don't even use that antiquated bullshit because it doesn't work. This works was like to 10,000 the power of 10,000x what the original what the original Dianetics promised. Um,
yeah.
but it's about past lives. It's about what they call whole track incidents in the whole history of the universe and your
We're not just talking
spirit's
about
lives.
this life that you're living in
Right.
right now. We're going back like the
Yeah.
whole track. Yeah.
So, and there's a book that records these incidents as well. But when, like, I have a very visual imagination. Some people, can see an apple. Some people don't see anything when they close in their head. I can like fill the room with like, I can fill the volume of the room with dynamic apples that I can move with my imagination, and I can taste it. I can bite it, and I can hear the crunch, and I can taste it. So as a child, like as a very highly imaginative younger person doing this thing, the stories that I imagined were so emotionally powerful. I thought that this was my opportunity to be a good person, and being getting a second chance. And it's like a that thing that you've been missing is within your grasp. And then I found out that it's just as easy to imagine a scenario as it is to come up with one on the spot. Like for me, it's because I'm self-aware about my imagination. So I tested it. And these stories, like, sometimes you're auditing someone. I audited a lot of people on Ned. One guy said that he was a
I mean, you were
pirate.
class 5, Ian.
Yeah, I was class 5, flag trained. I was very quick, which
Yeah.
became a problem because you get paid by the hour basically. But a lot of the people, like one guy, like a lot of these incidents were horrifying, by the way. But one guy just had like he was a pirate in every single one of his past lives. Didn't matter how far back he went. He was always a pirate. He was always doing some goofy pirate hijinks. Uh, and I was like, listen, it was like, I'm supposed to accept this, but none of this makes sense. And like, some people just couldn't do it, and it didn't matter what policies we applied. I kind of realized like, Scientology makes you do all the work.
Hmm.
And in other religions, there's a book. There's like here's what you should believe. But in Scientology, it's like, put yourself in a state of absolute abject paranoia. There are space ghosts clustered and attached to your body that are living things. There are, everything bad that happens to you is your fault because you did a crime in a past life. And if you say anything negative about this group, no matter what we do to you, if you call the police, if you say anything, you will lose your entire family, every friend you've ever made. Everyone will drop you like that.
It's a high crime in the ethics book.
Yeah, more so than you know what I don't see as a high crime in the ethics book? Being a pedophile, hurting children, because the children don't exist in Scientology. It's like a social norm that you ignore. It's you're like, yeah, people think that they're like just they haven't developed their prefrontal cortex, but we know that they're actually ancient thetans in tiny bodies, blah blah blah. It's just so fucked up. So it's like, the same pressure that was used to like convince you that the story is real is like all you. Like, their story is real because if it's not, then you're just a bad person, right? And then, but if the story is real, then there's redemption, and there's grade 2 with the confessional, and I did have a question because with all that being said, I was very curious, and maybe this will be my last question, but like. How you left was so unique because it never happens. I
don't think it's ever happened before.
I don't think it's ever happened before, and I've definitely never seen it because I don't know if you guys know, Amir was still in Scientology, and Apostate Alex Barnes Ross, prolific advocate against Scientology, was just like, I want to interview a Scientologist. And Amir was like, okay, what about me? And he did. Thinking what? What was going through your mind? What did you think you were gonna? What did you think? How did you think that was gonna go? I want to know. What happened there?
It's a funny one, Ian. It's a funny one. I mean, there was things that happened up into the build-up of that point, but essentially, like, I'm quite a curious guy, and I wanted to talk to everybody, and I was kind of reaching out to people behind the scenes, and I was emailing people, and some people didn't want to talk to me, and now I understand why. Is because there's a thing called the Office of Special Affairs.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of stuff that they've done in the past to people, but Alex was willing to talk to me, so we had some private calls, and he had suggested it, and then I agreed, and then we did it. And
how short was that between the agreement and the doing it? What was that window?
Probably maybe a few weeks.
Interesting.
Well, actually, maybe a month. Maybe a month.
And did you just keep that? Well, you were already doing other stuff, so I guess you could keep that lid on that. But you were
I was literally an executive talking to Alex after post time. Yeah.
So you were going in every day, at staff meeting, being like, ugh, if only they knew how boring this was.
I hate staff meeting because it's very intense to go up there in front of everybody, and you have to talk about all of these statistics, and if you don't maybe have the best week, and you have to explain why and what you're going to do to get your main statistics up, and then going through conditions and formulas and getting it up in front of all of these guys that have just done this FABC training at Flag. Like it's very intense. I hate staff meeting. In fact, I try to avoid it a couple of times by
Yeah.
just sitting at reception if
It's
somebody
very
came in or
difficult.
something.
Oh well, yeah, because you're an HCO. That was, whew, yeah, that's the only get out of jail free card unless you're like, we
If
need
a
some,
public walks in or is in
yeah,
a
we
test or
need someone
something, I would say, yeah,
there,
we need someone at
or
reception.
the only other excuse is like you're in session as an auditor,
Yeah,
uh, because
yeah.
you're not going into session as a PC if you're on staff in their staff meeting. Okay, so you're either in session as an auditor or you have similarly you have a purif person. You're in charge of the purification run. And if you have a person in there, you can't. There's the only solution. That's
Those you
yeah.
get out
But
of jail free cards, yeah.
is if the week was bad, if the org was down stat, it was like the most depressing, like
Oh, it's horrible. It's
sad,
horrible.
like shameful
No, you don't. You
room.
clap because the tradition is that you clap whenever someone's statistics are up. Like okay, Giazza, affluence this
Normal.
week, everyone claps.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
you say this was down, this was an emergency, this was in danger, nobody claps. Silence, absolute
Crickets.
as you proceed. So it's very intense. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I talked to Alex for a little bit, then we did the video. I thought the most that I was probably gonna get, because I'm, top executive and I'm supposed to be going to Flag for FEBC training. I'm playing a
Yeah.
massive part in this project, into going ideal and stuff, into moving in this big building. I honestly thought the most I would get was a slap on the wrist. And at the beginning, that's all I got was a slap on the wrist. And so, because I was updating people, because everyone's like, well, everyone wants to know how I'm doing as well after
Right.
that. Because, dude, that's never been done before, man. I mean, like, how do you prepare for something that you've never seen, or
You did.
no executive has
Yeah.
spoken to a declared SP with no permission whatsoever on his YouTube channel? It's
Well,
it's.
how old are you?
I just turned 22.
Oh, happy birthday. Let me tell you,
Uh,
these kids, these TikTok generation, these kids these days are demons, but not in a bad
yeah,
way. I mean, some of them are very illiterate, but like the energy, like the internet has made like it a challenge to keep something a secret. I think like because
yeah,
you can just call up anyone, you can just look into anything about anyone, you can read about anything. So like when you get to this group where it's like they're keeping you in like a sort of I guess a intellectual disbelief. Like you still think that everyone around you is like this organized, important, logical person that's gonna like have your back, but they're just not telling
yeah,
you the most extreme parts. That's crazy. And then
yeah.
eventually you did
Yeah,
get the golden
that
rod,
that
right?
opened up Pandora's. I didn't even
Who
get the
was
goldenrod. I got something that apparently nobody has ever seen before. I got a staff termination contract. Sorry, staff termination contract. It was sent to my house 2 weeks after I publicly left, which is really funny because I publicly left, and the day that I left, after finishing my day of hard manual labor, I went live with Alex. Actually, no, it was pre-recorded, and then he released it. But
right?
anyway, it was on. I think it was on the Monday that video came out. So I publicly left on YouTube and I said, guys, I spoke to Alex, and I was a Scientology executive, and I promote open dialogue. It's also on
Mm-hmm.
policy because apparently, according to the creed,
Yeah,
communication is the universal solvent. So it's actually on
literally.
policy. Also, on chapter 2 of New Slant on Life, Scientology's only truth is true for you means that the
Right.
whole thing is subjective. So I thought it was actually on policy to be able to, personal
Yeah.
check, go and find the truth and go and speak to people and go and communicate and it's ARC, right? If you put the
Right.
communication, then everything else drops. So I thought it was on policy. But I publicly came out and I said, this is what happened to me because I chose to speak to somebody and we it's so funny. We set like ground rules before we even
Mm-hmm.
did it, me and Alex, and we just said, okay, let's not talk about COB. Let's not talk about David Miscavige. Let's
Right.
not talk about anything confidential. And besides that, we can talk about whatever. So we had a really good chat. But yeah, I publicly left on YouTube. And then they
Mm-hmm.
send me a letter to my house 2 weeks later, and they say that Amir's staff contract is terminated because he's guilty of this, this, and this. And I'm just like, What do you
You should
mean
be like,
you're
I
terminating my contract because I left publicly 2 weeks like before that? It's
yeah,
just petty.
it's well, you're not breaking up with them, they're breaking up with you. And
Well, that's
they
how it
don't like
goes.
you cuz you're just a tattletale who talks openly about the religion by which you appear to be invested in to another person in a safe discourse on the internet, the same internet Scientology is trying to use to captivate its people. That's kind of like what I mean by the intent. It's like
Yeah.
logically, it is safer to just let some Scientologists out into the wild talk it out and like get them to like you like it's the same thing I was talking about, like stand on your own, stand on what you believe. Like I would not have nearly
Mhm.
as many problems with these people if they didn't try to hide the fact that they were associated with Scientology because they know what it does in the world. And that's like, so you know that they do crime, you know they do things that are society would consider to be very problematic, if not illegal, a lot of the times. And they ruin families. Uh, like and
Do you
and
know what shows me?
expect yeah and
Do you know what
expect that
shows me
any
the?
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you know what shows me their level of intelligence? Which, if we look at Mike Rinder, if we look at a lot of these former executives, the majority of them, I think, members of the C organization. Of course, there's Leah's there. There's loads.
Mm-hmm.
There's loads, but the majority, like the main commonality of why these guys end up leaving, at least from what I've heard and from what I've listened to and from people I've spoken to, is because of the disgusting treatment that they got.
Yeah.
And okay, you're in a position where you run an organization, and there's a staff member that's spoken to public enemy number one in the United Kingdom, and he's not supposed to do that. What shall we do in this situation? And so they thought, and I was reading everything. I bear in mind, I had access to HCO, I had access to every
Yeah.
file, access to every computer, access to every telex. Lou, COB's communicator, David's communicator, Lou.
uh I think so. It has been a minute. We never really got too many from
Uh,
Miscavige.
Right. Well,
I didn't
David's
personally. He wasn't
communicator, Lou.
on my lines, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, everything there I had access to. I had access to, and
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about what I may or may not
Sure.
have taken or whatever. But anyway, you can imagine, right? Because I had access
Right.
to absolutely everything. So, um, what was I saying? Ian, remind me
So
what I was saying.
Lou his communicator, or you had his stuff from Lou. You were
Oh
saying
yeah,
that you were open, you had access.
I'm trying to
Uh,
recall now what I was saying. Um,
it's okay.
okay, so I had access to everything. I seriously cannot remember what I'm saying. I feel like someone's going to put it in the chat right now. That's hilarious. It's fine. I lose my trail of thought sometimes.
Yeah, it's all right. That's us.
Um.
I do all the time.
Oh yeah. Okay. What I was saying was,
You were talking to
in
Public
terms of
Enemy number
how they
one.
treat you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Alex. Okay. Now the way that they decided to treat me in that situation, which to me shows the level of intelligence, is you took away this guy's pay for like 3 weeks. Then you basically put him in shunning, where you took him away from all of his juniors, all of his staff members, and you put him in complete isolation. Then you put him on hard manual labor in your life improvement center, which you just bought not too long ago, which is currently being
Yeah.
renovated, which you want him to work there, operate there, use equipment that he's never used before, not, hat him on health and safety and certain things that he's going to be
No
doing,
labor unions or protections or anything
right?
like that. You're just a
And not pay
body.
him at all, nothing at all. That's how you treat this guy just for talking to somebody. I mean, what do you expect is going to happen?
Literally. Yeah.
This guy is, you don't have any leverage over this guy being me. You have any leverage. This guy's dad is not in it. This guy's mom is not in it. Like, this guy if you piss him off to a degree, he's just going to walk away from it. And so that shows the level of stupidity and their intelligence. That's the degree that they went to. Plus, there's the ethics program, and there's basically redoing the student hat and word clearing, and there's putting everything into clay, and there's having to get all of that just by an
Oh yeah.
FEBC person. So that really restricts it even more. I mean, it's just, I don't think they're intelligent at all, going back to what you were saying. I mean, their level, these people are not smart at all. That's the
No.
degree they went to just for a chat on YouTube.
Exactly. And I mean that, like, I was amazed that it even happened, and I was like, this guy's about to get a hot poker shoved
That's
where
what
the
most
sun don't
people
shine.
said.
I was like, oh, this guy is the dumbest. This guy actually thinks that. But again, it's like, you stood on business and found out something that others who stood on business before you learned. So it wasn't like standing on business just being like confronting, like using logic. I used so many references that were used against me and told me that they didn't matter, or like constantly. It's like, if the person above you doesn't like you, they're not going to consider policy at all. They're going to
Mm,
still treat you like shit because you're like an example. I mean,
yeah.
like, I know the Australians have it a little easier because I don't think David Miscavige goes to Australia very often, and there's not a lot of hands-on RTC stuff going on over there. So from what I saw,
David's mostly at Flag these days.
yeah, like because he has an apartment there too. What I mostly
Yeah.
saw, because the only outside of America place I've been, Scientology wise, is Perth. So I was never
Mm,
able to, and it was closed because of COVID. And there was another whistleblower during COVID that was saying, Scientology is making us do all these like insane cleaning, like we're fogging like these heavy chemicals in the rooms, and it's unsafe, and like
mm,
the amount, it's everything they do is not really based on a plan. It's based on like scrambling towards a goal. And I think it's easy to see them as organized because they're wearing suits, but they're forced to do that.
yeah.
You're forced to tie your shoes when you come in the morning. Like, you're supposed to have everything, all your P's and Q's in a row. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's I'm very impressed that you were able to make it out. I'm more so impressed that you were part of this program and you had the wherewithal to save it. Because I got out with a handful of stuff, but let me tell you, I was in such a perfect opportunity. If anyone, like, if somebody ever comes out with the tech films, best believe that person is going to be my best friend. Because I
Can
will
you
love.
do you know what's amazing is the day and age that we live in now. What's the stops? I mean, listen, I got this close to being in a meeting with David Miscavige. I was being when I was at
Well,
St. Hill, when I was at the IES event a couple of months ago. I met Diana Hubbard, I met Ella Rach's daughter. I met
right,
all of these top executives because I was an executive myself. I had to deal with the commanding officer of CLO UK. I had to deal with the CMO, COCMO. I had to deal with RTC reps. I had to deal because I'm also fundraising for the IES.
right.
I'm also being checked upon. We're also an FEB. Sorry, I'm speaking like I'm still there. They
Yeah,
are an FEBC org. As an
yeah.
FEBC org, you don't
Just
report to CLO, you report to Flag.
yeah.
So we're being what?
For those who don't know, he's doing a lot of courses and being made to study a lot of references and accomplish a lot of menial bureaucratic tasks, uh, as you do in Scientology, for management that is like, does not tolerate downtime.
Yeah. Yeah, but I
Like,
mean, the day and age that we live in, like I was saying, I was this close to being in a David Miscavige
yeah,
meeting because the ED, Malcolm, who's the executive director of Scotland, would take me home. Especially when I was, well, not take me home, but when I was staying at St. Hill, I would
right.
stay in Crawley or I would stay at Greenfield School. That's where I was staying. I had a whole school to myself. It was actually kind of freaky. But he would take me, and so he would tell me everything that would be happening in these meetings. I know what David wore. I know what he talked about.
Yeah,
I know David's sense of humor. I mean, David Miscavige is actually quite cheesy. Like when you hear,
yeah,
like Malcolm's like, sir. I want to get this section approved. And David's like, oh, no, absolutely not. We don't half-ass things in Scientology. We slam dunk them. Like, he's very corny, David. And
When I've
he
talked to
goes
many
up
people
to,
who work directly with him. I'm actually glad you didn't get to work with him, only because from what I understand, anyone who does work with him has scars from it.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
made it out with the with I think the correct amount of optimism, which is uh, it didn't take everything from you before. Not to speak for you, but you saw something was wrong, and you saw your opportunity to put it to the test, and you got your answer. And that's honestly,
yeah, man.
you're in a very, like, to me, you are a very sane person. Very, like, just getting on Miscavige's radar would have just been like, you know, he would have, from what I understand, he likes to make everything personal. Everything is like a slight.
Mm.
If he would have remembered your face, you know, who knows who he would have, what
I
he would have
nearly
done.
met him. And I tried to
Yeah.
meet him because I was at the charity concert, a couple of months ago on
Right. Right.
Sunday, and I was with my friends, and I was with some other people, and I was meeting all of these singers and performers. That's actually where I met L. Ron Hubbard's daughter, Diana Hubbard, and we
Right.
spoken a little bit because she came into the group that I was in, and I ended up speaking to her. But I saw David, and I thought,
Mm.
I'm gonna go up and speak to COB. Why not? I'm gonna have a conversation with him, and then
Oh. Yeah.
and I
How
never
close
used
did
to
you
be
get
like that,
there?
inches away.
Yeah.
But then you have to deal with it. You have to deal with his wall of pawns, which is his security, before
Yeah.
you get to the
You.
king at the very back, right?
Yeah.
But do you know
Not
what?
gonna
It's
happen, big
amazing
dog.
that the day and age we live in. Imagine if someone sticks voice memos in their pocket and records
Yeah.
that kind of interaction. I mean, we can do that
Literally.
now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's the things
You
that
don't have to
I
be a
think.
Scientologist to go to the charity concert as well.
Yeah, I think the Scientology aspect does a lot of heavy lifting. Like I said, like, you're doing a lot of policing of your own behavior. If you think that if you're that close to David Miscavige, you believe so much about like the psychic operations of theta and like all that stuff. You're already so in the zone. Maybe you were a little more out than you were in. I mean, I was able to keep it under wraps because I was like, I just have no one to talk to about this. But like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of things Scientologists don't understand is that like we're all waiting for y'all to catch up. Like you're going through stuff that is sort of like part of the process. So you either like become one of those people in the org who's like sort of in like a weird like nostalgic fugue state, and they don't kind of seem to know what's going on, and they all kind of have these stories about where they've been in Scientology. I was on the Apollo and I knew that when I was his top communicator, and but then they're just like in abject like catatonia, like they just look sad and alone. So you got to do that for the rest of your life, or you can be like, yeah, fuck this, I'm out. um I but I'm glad you didn't. I think you could have done a lot if you met him, but I'd be nervous enough to meet him when I was in, because when I was in, I was
Mm,
very afraid. Now,
mm.
uh I'll WWE body slam his little ass.
Yeah,
But
most people are afraid to meet him. I mean, I would speak to
yeah,
CMO, and they would say, by the way, COB knows who you are, and that's very scary. And I'm like,
yes,
wow, that's cool.
yeah,
At the time, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And they're like, that's very scary that he
yeah,
knows who you
you,
who. But I mean, I was like, I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna speak to the guy and I'm gonna crack jokes.
yeah,
That
I,
that was
you.
mine. And everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, you got the ball. You got balls. I can respect that. I can respect you were trying to put Scientology's money where their mouth is, and I mean, you found out.
Yeah,
Well, all
I think
right.
Doug Kramer even got a picture with him or something. But yeah.
Yeah, Doug Graham. That's so funny. All right. I do have to go. I've really really enjoyed having this conversation. We're definitely going to talk again. 100%. And now that
Yeah,
I
for
know that
sure,
we
man.
can, now that we can talk on Streamlabs, I know now I can make it all fancy, and we can have, maybe I'll get you into gaming. I'll do something. I'll buy you a game, and we can play it, and it'll just be the only game you play. Because you said you weren't really a gamer,
I
besides
mean,
like
I play
FIFA.
chess all the time and esports
Ooh,
and stuff, but
chess.
we can have a game. We can have a game.
I'll get back. I'll start playing chess again. I haven't played chess in, wow, 20 years.
Oh, seriously? Okay.
When I was 10, because I just turned 30. Jesus, I was at Delphi. My last place, I was in a chess team. I lost like 3 times. I was like, "Fuck this! You guys suck. I don't like this at all." And I just
We can
stopped.
get a few games.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. All right, everyone, go follow Amir's Substack. It's I don't want to get your last name wrong, so tell them the link,
Yeah.
and I'll make sure to have it in the description.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to go check it out, that would be awesome. It's funny. A lot of people like, how do you say your last name? And I'm just like, it's
Mm-hmm.
Amir Essalhi.
Essalhi. That's what I thought it was, but I didn't know if
Yeah,
it was
Essalhi. Yeah,
like emphasis here and there. I like to
Essalhi.
take people's names for what
No,
they
it's good.
how
It's
they
good you
say
do
it.
that.
So, but I super appreciate it.
Yep,
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do this again. I mean, you're
for sure.
definitely you're a very courageous guy. I really appreciate what you did. I mean,
Appreciate
you
that.
helped a lot of people. I mean, even people seeing when you even just providing me with this whole program thing and all these Dr. Brick videos, that helped a lot of his fans wake up to be like, oh,
Mhm.
well, I thought maybe he was right, but seeing him connected to Scientology and Dianetics, I can't. I'm unsubscribing right now. So like
Mm.
a whole additional wave of people who you really helped confirm that. So I just want to say I
Oh,
appreciate
cool.
that, and you know like you're gonna keep kicking ass, and
You too, man.
yeah, I mean I thank you. I mean I think maybe you and me and Alex should do something. We should find
Let's make it happen.
some mischief to get up to.
Yeah, sure we can make something happen.
All right. Okay. All right, guys. I will see y'all tomorrow, where we will. Oh, there we go. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow, where we will continue this bonanza. All right. All right. See y'all later. Take it easy. Peace.